Back in 1965, a group of scientists had been selected to train as astronauts, the first who had not come up through the ranks as test pilots.
When the scientist astronauts were selected, they were all nice guys, but who needed them? You know, I mean, they can't fly. None of them knew how to fly. We had to send them to flight school.
We felt like basically they were taking up space. They didn't have the qualifications that we felt were essential, and that was to be a fighter pilot. Living, breathing, gung-ho fighter jock.
There were 2 MDs, 2 engineers, 1 physicist, and a PhD geologist the astronauts nicknamed Dr. Rock.
The whole idea of volunteering was with the possibility of actually taking my science and my interests to the moon.
Jack took a long time to get through flight training. I remember at the time saying that if God had meant man to fly, it wouldn't have made him Jack Schmidt. But these guys, they were good. I mean, they were sharp people, but they were cut from a different mold. We also felt like they were would kind of undermine the office on our official positions, which was kind of like anti-doctor, anti-scientist.
Hell, we were astronauts. We could be anything we wanted to be. We were a little arrogant. There's no question about it. And for every scientist that flew, one of us would not.
Schmidt would never be completely accepted in the test pilot fraternity, and he didn't expect to get to the moon himself. But he used whatever leverage he had to push NASA to liven up its approach to geology training.
My impression was that the pilot astronauts were bored. It was not very interesting to them.
Most of the astronauts actually hated geology. They didn't want to touch a geologist with a 10-foot pole, because their first courses in geology were taught the way I was taught geology, in a classroom with the thin sections and the microscope and learning the chemical formula of a mineral, which they will never see again or never use. And they would tell each other, I mean, we're not going to get a goddamn microscope and look at this stuff. What the hell are we doing this for?
To spark the astronauts' enthusiasm, Schmidt recruited his own source of inspiration from his days at Caltech, Dr. Lee Silver.
What I was trying to do initially was convince them that they could make important contributions to the science.
Silver led field trips for the crews of future missions, including Jim Lovell, soon to fly on Apollo 13, with Fred Hayes, and Dave Scott, scheduled to fly the following year on Apollo 15. In Iceland, they studied basalts, volcanic rock like Armstrong and Aldrin found. At Meteor Crater, Arizona, they found samples of a kind of compressed fragmented rock called breccia. Finding breccia on the lunar surface could prove that the moon's vast craters were formed not by volcanoes, as many once thought, but by the fiery bombardment of meteor impact. The astronauts must learn to recognize it.
You have to think about these people as not a typical set of undergraduates who were going out on a geology field trip. I mean, here are these people incredibly highly motivated, but also very, they're very competitive. And before not too long, these people became highly motivated students because they could see that, hey, you get out on the moon, we're not just going to pick up a couple of rocks. You're going to be on the moon for 7 hours, and gosh, gee whiz, that really looks neat. Goes about 30 seconds, and you got to learn some geolingo, or you're going to look stupid.
We did geology from when we woke up at dawn and could get breakfast to we'll go through 2, 3, 4 exercises a day till it got dark, and then talk geology around the campfire until 10 at night.
Fred Hayes and Jim Lovell had become so enthused about geology that they chose as their Apollo 13 motto, Ex Luna Scientia, from the moon, knowledge.